Welcome back, Flyers Nitty Gritty fans, to Getting Gritty with It with your host, Yariv, Wolok, my partner in crime, Vasili, Gianarakos. Vasili, welcome back for another episode, buddy. How are you doing?
Yariv, Monday, so start to a long week, but doing okay. Myself personally, I actually just had a cheesesteak for dinner before we recorded, so I think that's a good way to kick it off and get us into some Flyers hockey. Obviously, not a Philly cheesesteak, Toronto cheesesteak, but hopefully get out to Philly soon and get a Jim's cheesesteak. So,
what's a Toronto cheesesteak? Like, do you
uh,
do anything to it to try to make it Philly, or you think it's like the same thing? Or you
I
try?
don't, I don't know. I mean, realistically, it was just a homemade like cheese stick. So I just had like a bun, little, steak cooked up, some cheese, some onion.
What kind of cheese?
I did some mozzarella, so
See, that's your first mistake.
that's my first mistake, huh?
It's so Canadian. No, I'm just kidding. But typically here in Philly, it's like Whiz, which
Okay.
I'm not actually a huge fan of. Then the second would be the American, which is my choice.
Yeah,
And a lot of
that's
people
not
do
bad either.
provolone.
All I had was
Yeah.
mozzarella. I had
Not a
some cheddar
horrible choice.
too. But I was just like, I'm gonna go with the other one. See where it
Yeah.
takes me. Not
There's
bad though.
there
I'm
is really
sure. Sorry, I was gonna say I'm sure Jim's is way better than what I can
well,
fucking make.
honestly, yeah, Jim's is fantastic. It's definitely like you can smell Jim's down the street when it's open. Shout out to Jim Steaks. There are other great cheesesteak places as well, but the Barclay Prime in Center City. I don't know if anybody is listening to this has ever been there. I think it's a Barclay. Pretty sure it's Barclay Prime in Rittenhouse. They have it's a $75 cheesesteak, but it's a
Oh man.
cheesesteak. But if you buy the full thing, it's like half a bottle of champagne and a cheesesteak for like $150. But you don't have to do that. You can just get the cheesesteak itself. Comes in slices of fours. It's a prime rib cheesesteak. It's very good. But I don't think
That's
it's worth
not
that much
bad
money.
though.
Yeah.
Probably it might not be worth it, but I feel like just to go and say, hey man, I don't know if that's a good thing. If that's a good thing to be like, oh, like I bought a $75 cheesesteak.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
mean, you
a
end up spending more than that if you go to eat there.
yeah,
It's an expensive meal. Um,
pretty
but yeah,
much.
it's worth it,
That's a
if you got the
bucket list.
extra
Bucket
cash.
list.
Yeah.
Spend $75 on cheesesteak. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, like I do stupid stuff like that every now and then, but
You got to. It's the fun of it, right? To see if it's worth it, even though
yeah,
it might not be. Like,
I'll
why
say
not?
this, like there are great cheesesteaks in Philly. Cheesesteaks is like a cheesesteak is it's peasant food. Like I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's street food. Like it's
Yeah, I
meant
know.
for the peasants. Like it's not meant for rich people. Like you don't need
No,
to spend a ton of money on a cheesesteak to make it taste phenomenal. So that's why it's like
no,
it's kind of like a
100%.
comedic thing. But they have high grade meat there, so yeah. Maybe when you come to Philly, you get a $75 cheesesteak.
Next tailgate. Yeah, we're doing
Yeah,
it.
right, yeah. Hey, if inflation keeps going up, maybe they'll all be $75 by the end. All right,
Possible. Who knows?
yeah. All right.
It's a great start for us. I love it.
Yeah. The exciting, positive episode. So this is how you can tell the Flyers have lost 3 games in a row. And the energy that we've carried in this one. No, all right. So seriously, let's get it started here. Philadelphia Flyers do come off 3 separate losses, all in regulation, and I think they were outscored a total to was 14-4 in those 3 games, if I counted correctly. They lost to the Blue Jackets 5-2, the Senators 4-1, and then to the Stars 5-1. I would not say those scores indicate like how well they played. I don't think that this was like a complete disaster. Where if you just looked at it on the surface level, like the score outputs, it does look like a disaster. It did not feel like it when you were watching it. It was more of those games where you're like, all right, they're in it. They're just like, there's something missing here, or they're making like an untimely mistake. But I think, some of the energy that was built up obviously has been deflated. But before we get into game one, I do want to mention, we have talked about this on this podcast. It is going to happen. For all the highs that we have, this is not a team built to win a Stanley Cup, and it's one that it's in a process of improving. So this should be somewhat expected. Not that we should get used to it, enjoy it, or just say, oh, whatever, but it's one that's like, okay, it's those games that we talked about where the team shouldn't look like they're being embarrassed. They should be missing the mark. Be like, man, if we just had Sean Couturier, we'd have that edge. If we had JVR again in front of the net, we'd have that edge. So I think we find ourselves a little bit in that position. But let's get into the first one. Blue Jackets, 5-2. A game that definitely I think Carter Hart would like back, at least from that first goal. I would believe he'd want that one back. And a game where the Flyers probably should have had that win. And just like I was saying earlier, the most untimely mistakes. And then an inability to finish, where some of their depth, obviously, issues are showing with the inability to score at times. And that's understandable with the level of injuries they have. But also some positives within there. But what do you think about that 5-2 Blue Jackets? I would say emotionally disappointing game. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I mean, you're going to that Blue Jackets game, and I mean, the first thing is for the Flyers is they're probably realizing the Jackets are, on a losing streak, so they have the ability to take advantage potentially of that. I'm sure that's in the back of their minds. That's something they want to do, and they want to build off the 5-1 win against the Blues because you're starting to roll a bit. You're starting to find your identity and the way you're playing 5-on-5. So let's try to carry that into things in Columbus. And I'm sure Tortorella's probably preaching, we need a fast start. We're on the road. And obviously big game for him as that's his former team that he's coaching. So I'm sure, there's some emotion from him, and he's invested obviously in the result of that one. He's going to want to win that one. From process perspective, probably not the best start you're going to want, giving up 3 unanswered in the first period, and they're all resulting to a good amount, I would say, of mistakes in terms of turnovers. The thing is, though, when I see the turnovers that they did make, especially from Konechny to start the second period, where he's at the blue line there, and it kind of gets stripped off of him. Obviously, I mean, he's trying to make a play there and look for a play. So he's standing there and hesitates a little bit, but it's not the worst thing for him to do on a regular basis. Like in certain situations when you're at the top of the blue line like that, you can feed the puck out quicker and make a play. Same with Tippett on the first turnover. I mean, he turns it over trying to get the puck across the ice. You see a Flyers player there, but she's not on the mark. So I think it goes back to kind of something Tortorella was saying just to start the game or start the season off, that he wants players to not be afraid to make plays up the middle. So I'm sure he doesn't want to see the turnovers, but also it's not the worst thing that you have guys trying to make plays, even though it ends up in the back of your net. Something you want to clean up is the accuracy, with the passing. And then, rest of the game, they do battle back. They work hard, which is, showing resilience again. That's a trait of this team. And then they just aren't able to, close it out. And the Blue Jackets end up getting that one with the empty net, or 2 with the empty net, and take the lead there essentially and close it out. But, it's a good effort. It's just, the special teams is something that really kills them. I mean, in this game, right? Because, they could have maybe scored in a couple instances, but I mean, no chances really. So,
what are you talking about, the Blue Jackets game?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did. So special team wise, they didn't draw a power play, which I don't think was accurate. And I think the refs screwed up there. Again, this is how frustrating of a game it was. And then they did stop all of Columbus's opportunities. See, this game is so weird because if you look at the plus minus, which I did not look at till right now. So Konechny, Hayes, and Tippett. Konechny and Hayes were both a -4, and Tippett was a -5 in this game. They did not play to that level in this game.
Yeah, they didn't play that bad.
But you would not think that. So I think this was a really frustrating game where it was okay, fine. They didn't play their best game in this, but they also didn't play a game where they should have been down 3-0 in this game. It was I remember watching, what is going on? And then obviously they fell short of coming back and got the empty netters, which, it's just kind of disappointing.
Deserved a better fade, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why Torts kind of stormed out, because he's like, you had it. You had it. They
probably pissed too. He's probably pissed too that they couldn't, finish it out to get him the win, I guess, going back to Columbus as well. So I'm sure that factors in too.
I had a really bitter taste in my mouth after that loss.
I thought they should have won that.
The other two.
I thought they should have won that one, and I mean, it looks kind of bad on them, just for the sense that, I mean, you played so well in St. Louis, and your process in terms of 5-on-5 other than the first period was probably one of the best I
Yeah.
would say, of the season, and then you can't pull it out. So that's like points you want. But also, I mean, hockey's a weird sport. I always look back to it. There's probably a couple they shouldn't have won at the beginning, and it always
Sure.
finds a way to even
Balance out.
itself out, right? So
And that's what I was saying. That I love that you said that because that's what I was saying in the beginning. Like, guys, this has a way of balancing itself out. The process has been good, and I think that's what John Tortorella is focused on in these press conferences. He's like, "Look, I'm not going to sit here and bash these guys because their process is there. You're not watching them going like, oh my god, these guys don't belong. This is not the same thing as last year. You can see it. You can see it's not the same thing as last year. This year, they don't have as much talent on the ice. They don't. It's just last year, like you think of the names that we had lined up to start the year. I mean, that top nine in comparison to now could be considered stacked. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
Well, you're missing a line of forwards technically, like even this season,
okay, and that's yeah,
like
and
with
then
Couture,
minus Giroux.
Atkinson, JVR. Yeah, minus
And
Giroux.
well, I
That's
guess
what I mean,
we
right?
have
So
Tippett who's been very good, but again, I don't think he drives play. Not yet, though. I think we have a lot of positive stuff to say about him. Like that's why it's baffling to me. He was -5 in that game. Like he was
he looks
-5.
good
I was saying he
consistently.
looked
It's just
good,
like,
and he's a -5. Like
yeah, he's scratching the surface. Like you see a lot of things that you like, but obviously you want to just see him convert on more chances, I think, right?
yeah, I mean, he had 19 minutes, of 18:50 of ice time, 3 shots on goal,
Yeah.
1 hit, 1 block.
He's
It did have
active in
one
the game
one
for sure.
giveaway, which probably led to a goal.
Yeah.
Um,
And then you see Torts, he did switch the lines a bit in that game too. So I don't know if that has a factor and maybe, trying to shake up the chemistry, obviously, but they just couldn't, like I said, they once they hit the second goal, it's like they hit a wall. And I mean, kudos to Corpusalo. He played really well. He made a lot of big
yeah,
saves. So I would have liked to see, like you were saying, in terms of special teams, they killed off the two Columbus penalties, but I mean, or power plays, I mean, but they probably should have drawn like a few power plays of their own too. So I don't know, just the officiating in that one. There was a lot of weak calls too on the Columbus end. I didn't really
yeah,
enjoy. So
dude. Yeah, it was a frustrating game all around, and obviously you had the return of Claude Giroux in the Ottawa game, and I guess I'll insert the recap here. So everybody who showed up for that game. And shout out to Rebecca for throwing that for the Flyers meet and greet. That went like much better than I even was anticipating. We had raffles and balloons and giveaways and all this stuff. There was food, there was alcohol. It was amazing to see Jamie and obviously Vasili. For those who are listening, we're already talking about our next one, and Vasili will probably be there. And we'll do something a little bigger, a little longer. But it was amazing, and Rebecca and Jamie did an amazing job, and to Rebecca's family for helping, and everybody jumped in. Everybody that I met, and Ricky I met there, and Sam was there, and Bill Meltzer stopped by for a little bit. And obviously, if you guys didn't notice, like Zach McEwen's mom's there. And we got the merchandise in there. Rebecca did a nice thing, gave a great gift to Zach's mom. And it was just great. It was great to see everybody, and obviously people were hyped. It was Claude Giroux's return to Philadelphia after we beat them, where he had the only goal. But we came away with the win, and I think we were going into this game expecting something similar, quite honestly. And just judging off how the team has played lately, you kind of assumed that they would be in this one, that they would fight. And they really were. I mean, I think this one for sure. Your comment on the special teams earlier, Vasily. I mean,
yeah,
Flyers were 0 for 3, and then 0 for 3 on the power play, and then gave up 2 goals on 3 opportunities for the Senators. They did outshoot the Senators significantly. They had
outplayed
38
them, I'd
shots.
say.
They outplayed them, and yet they still walked away with the loss in a 4-1 game, where on the surface it looks like the Flyers were the worst team on that night, but another game where you're like, you out hit them, you out chanced them, you had better opportunities. Your goalie didn't play that poorly or anything like that. It's just another one of those frustrating nights where it just wasn't working the way we thought it was going to be working. No goals went in, and then I think in the third period the Flyers didn't come with that edge to win that game, or they kind of that's where I think they let off, and then that's where it kind of snowballed in the 4-1. But
Yeah.
obviously, should have ended 2-1 probably, or the Flyers really should have tied that game. or much earlier on. It just, for whatever reason, just didn't happen.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, spot on, Yariv, with your analysis there. And obviously, thanks to all our fans and everybody for coming out to the Flyers Nitty meet and greet. We appreciate you guys. So thank you there. I mean, big game for Giroux coming back. Obviously, emotional game, I assume, for a lot of Flyers fans. I mean, they grew up watching the guy play. Even me personally, right? Like, I grew up watching Giroux play. So it's weird for sure. Weird element for a lot of people to see him, obviously, in a Senators jersey on Flyers ice. But it was a good start for the Flyers. Like, they started about as well as they could. I thought they dominated the first period. They get a quick goal. Kevin Hayes capitalizing. So a great start for them. And they're continuing to play well even up until, Chabot tying it up in the first. They dominate a lot of the second period, but then, like you were saying, just the special teams creep in where they can't get the 2 penalty kills. For those DeBrincat goals, and that's really the momentum changer, because Ottawa gets those power play goals, swings the momentum in their favor, where the Flyers had that same chance to do that, and they were unable to capitalize on their power plays. I think a lot of it with the power play is just stemming from the fact that they're not able to get it set up effectively right now. They're getting stood up at the blue line by a lot of teams. Even Dallas, same thing in the Sunday game. Like, they're trying to get it in quickly, set up. The thing is, though, once they do get set up, which isn't happening often, they're actually creating some chances, which we saw in the Dallas game as well. And even in the Ottawa game, too, they had a couple decent chances. It's just they're having too much trouble kind of carrying it up the ice and being able to stifle through the defenders. And what that's doing ultimately is just taking away time from them on the power play. So when they finally do get there, it's out of their, power play players are tired because they've been trying to get into the zone the whole time, or, there's not enough time left to capitalize really with the man advantage, which it sucks because that can be a real momentum builder. And we saw earlier in the season when their power play would have a clutch goal here or there.
It would
keep
change
them
the
in,
game.
yeah, change the game or keep them in the game. Whereas this is taking momentum away from them because it's supposed to be a scenario in which they're generating chances and they're not, right?
Yeah. And then we can definitely say that about the Dallas game. But before we segue into that one, I guess just to point out, Risto was a -2 in that game. Proby was a -1. Again, one of those weird games. Excuse me, like the game before.
You got empty netters, right? So you still counts for a minus, even though like it's an empty netter, so you're not really actively having a mistake for the minus or anything.
Yeah, but it's also just one of those games where just they didn't play. They didn't have their best games overall. They just didn't play that poorly either.
No, and I think that's a trend with the Columbus game and the Ottawa game. Like they're out shooting their opponents, which is a good sign. They were not doing that earlier. They're playing with the puck much more often. They have a lot more sustained puck control. They're playing in the other team's end more often, in my estimation, versus the first 10 games. I would say they're actually cycling the puck around. They have the puck more, and they're playing probably more sustainable winning hockey than they were on some of the previous wins. It's just they're not converting on their chances. A bit of a dry spell, and it happens. Like we said throughout the season, there's going to be dips, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's positives to look at with these two that we kind of just broke down. That I mean, if you're playing like that 5-on-5 majority of the time, you're usually going to have more success.
Yes. Yeah. I will say, like, the Flyers do have talked about it before, right? We have we don't have the right combination of like play drivers in there, and I'm sure some of that is affecting the scoring, but I really don't think that should lead to 5-2, 4-1. Again, I think these are normal, but I do expect there be more production than this on a regular basis, and I think some of it is going to have to work itself into the season slowly. And guys like TK, I think you're watching players blossom, and it's going to take time. Guy like Tippett obviously falls into that category too. We'll get into them, but let's go through this this last game. So the Flyers dropped the most recent game. This was, I would say, definitely the ugliest of them. The Flyers only won 26% of the faceoffs in this one, but the Flyers lose this game 5-1. A game that they were in I would say at least half the game, and then the third definitely just got away from them. I would say Dallas clearly has, more talent to some degree, at least offensive punch, but the Flyers still, it just feels like they kept shooting themselves in the foot these past few games. Like they would play well and then all of a sudden kind of break down. I'd say this is the one game that I wouldn't say they deserve to win. But they
Yeah.
could have stopped a 5-1 bloodbath. Maybe this,
I I
you know
think
what
it
I
could
mean?
have been closer for sure. Like the game could have been
Yeah,
closer. It could have been one. I mean,
not the best.
where you're finding yourself still within a 1 goal gap in the third, but there's just too many mistakes that end up piling up, right? So it's once again, it's another trend we've kind of seen rear its head here. The Flyers starting out, with a 2 goal deficit, which at this point, I mean, we've seen it happen and they've come back and win, but you can't keep spawning the other team 2 goals, like even in Columbus, like you can come back, but you can't come back every single game. So that's something. I mean, that's got to be corrected, obviously, right? You don't want to just keep spawning the team 2 goals. You gotta play with the lead, because it's too much for you to dig deep every night and be like, okay, 2 goals, we're coming back. 2 goals, we're coming back. It's just not going to happen all the time.
Mhm.
But beautiful goal, Konechny, Hayes, and Tippett connecting there, with the tic tac toe play in the beginning of the first period. So just great vision, basically from Tippett, who gets the pass initially from Konechny, curls it over to Hayes, and then Hayes waits, stops, finds Konechny in an open space, and Konechny scores a beautiful one. So that's probably
Yeah.
the highlight of the game for the Flyers there. And
Yep.
like you were saying, you're either in it up until that Pavelski power play goal against, and you're seeing the special teams rear its head once again, where the PK just not getting a kill, where they were doing really well earlier in the season. They're letting some guys get open in front of the net, and that's allowing guys to pot in rebounds, get tips, and that's where Pavelski's made his living, his whole career, right in front of the net,
Yeah.
tipping the puck in, and you can't leave a guy like him open, and that kind of gets it rolling for Dallas. And then from there, once they're up 3-1, the Flyers just can't get it back. They give up one that is shorthanded, which really puts the nail in the coffin for them. Then another power play goal to
I
Robertson.
mean, special
So,
teams wise, they got shellacked. The Stars were 2 for 3 on their power play, and the Flyers were 0 for 6. One with
yeah,
a 5-on-3 at the end of the game where they looked completely ineffective. And that's where this game I really didn't like, because
yeah,
it felt like, and again, I'll give it to them. I think they were tired in this one. It felt like they just ran out of gas. I don't
yeah.
really want to rip them. I'm not saying that they should have won that game or they got to fight to the very end, but not their best game, not their best stretches
Yeah.
of games. Um, I think I think where normally if we were healthy, I don't think it would have snowballed. This would have snowballed into 3 wins, or I'm
No,
sorry, 3 regulation losses. But again, this is the issue with not having the bodies. Like,
it's
I
hard to
mean,
overcome. It's hard to overcome special teams woes if you
well,
don't have those players,
I
right?
mean, don't you think faceoffs would be a humongous
Yeah,
impact when you can only win 26%
yeah.
of the faceoffs? Flyers went from having Claude, who by the way had 3 assists against us the other night as well, so that's 4 points against the Flyers in 2 games so far. Talk about a Flyer killer. Um,
Already in
yeah,
just
I
two
know, right?
games.
Yeah, in just 2 games, that's all it took. Uh, and so you imagine we went from Giroux, who is what top 3 faceoff guys in the league, top 2 even.
Perennially, usually the
Yeah,
last decade. So,
exactly, perennially. And then Sean Couturier, who's entered that space in the past few years, who's
and
also
he's probably been perennially the last 5 seasons. He's been
yeah,
in the top five,
exactly.
10.
Yo,
So,
he easily our best faceoff guy. Both of them are
yeah,
out. Um, yeah, this stuff is or not out. I'm sorry, both have moved on since then, and then not having Coots out. Look, I think the reality is that the Flyers are still there. We're going to feel that impact at center throughout the
yeah.
entire season, even if we find times to
Well,
look past it or where it works, or maybe eventually somebody will grow
I
into
mean,
it. But
realistically, Yariv, we've been talking about it, like this team desperately needs a center, right? Like you have Kevin Hayes as a natural center. Technically, like you have Cates playing center or Lawton, but both of them are better probably wingers. And then you might like Cates and Lawton could be good there, but I mean, ultimately,
not in a
you'd
top
rather
six
have
role, not
yeah, you'd
Cates
rather
for
have
his
Couturier.
first NHL season.
You'd rather have Couturier, 100%,
I mean,
obviously. So
I would take like even somebody like Braden Shen when he was
yeah,
younger. Or like it's not even that. Like Kevin Hayes for number 2 spot is great. I don't
yeah,
have a problem with it.
but you
In
still need
fact,
your number one guy.
the way he's playing right now, you're kind of like he is playing like a legitimate number 2 right now. That
Yeah,
is
for
the way
sure.
he's playing. But he's not a number 1 center.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I look at the situation with Ristolainen. I don't think it's an impossible contract to move. I don't think that anything is being rushed to move. But if I look at the D, I look at the amount of money we have allocated there.
You got to
You
move
know,
some, yeah.
there are teams out there like if you're looking for a right-handed defender. We know that the value for Risto is relatively high. I'm not saying you're going to get what you traded for him, but we need a center. Somebody out there has got a veteran center. I could see that being tossed around at some point. I don't think the Flyers are trading their first round pick. I want to make that very clear.
Yeah.
If the Flyers get healthy, yeah, they're a playoff team. That is not the trend we are seeing. If
No.
you are we still have no idea where Atkinson is coming back. And shout out to Sam Filippo. I did hear him. Excuse me. I did hear him with an update saying that Atkinson that they're routing not to go surgery and to go natural. This is going to take some time. I would assume that both these guys are probably out all year, especially if we're not in the playoff position.
Yeah.
They're going to both sit all season.
100%. I could see that.
Maybe Coots playing at the very end if
just to see if he can get back, almost similar to a Hayes thing last year.
Correct. If there's no risk of re-injury though, because you might be like, you know what?
Take the time.
Just take the time. And we're gonna get into a young player update at the end, and I think there's enough. The reason I want to do it, Vasili, is there's so much to get excited about, and we're
100%.
already forgetting that. And like even let's just take a second here. I don't have this on the topic list, but just look at the Flyers in the goalie position. I know people keep yelling over and over again that there's no talent here. I have no idea if this is true, but there is reason to believe right now, off of me not being a prospect expert, that the Flyers have the deepest prospect pool for goalies in the NHL. And I don't even know who's a close second, because if you think about the fact that Carter Hart is 24, essentially he's a young goaltender. You have Sandstrom, who's his backup, who's also pretty good. Ersan, who's also really good.
And he's only like 20.
He's 22 years old.
Yeah, Fedotov still technically, and then Kolosov.
And Kolosov, who's been a starter in the KHL since the age 18.
Yeah, which is like league, so.
It's almost unheard of. So that's an elite, most likely an elite goalie prospect, probably better than Ersan, who's also a very good goalie prospect, and Sandstrom, who's pretty good on his own.
And Russia's a goalie factory lately too, so you got to factor that in.
And we have Carter Hart, who at one point this season, people are like, "Oh, he's playing with the best goalie in the world." Again, you might not like Ron Hextall. The man was a goalie. No. The man knows goalies. He fixed your goalie problem. He potentially fixed your goalie problem for the next 5, 10.
I always find the irony that I talk about with my buddies that all those years the Flyers never had a goalie, and now they finally have one,
and they don't have the team in front of them.
Exactly.
Well, no, actually, you would say is that they don't have a center.
Yeah, you have a center that's good enough. They've usually always had a great center, right?
Not only that, they've had too many centers. You're like, well, all right, we got to move some of our centers to the wing. Like, all right, maybe we move Danny Briere to the wing.
But the Flyers have always been able to draft and develop centers easily, right? Whereas, like, now it's looking almost not like it's a tough thing for them, but they haven't done that in a while. I mean, legitimately since Sean Couturier, you would say,
have they drafted a top-tier center outside of
Couturier? No, not really.
No, they did. Nolan Patrick, outside of Nolan Patrick.
Outside of Patrick, yeah, no.
Yeah, so they drafted Patrick. They drafted
Frost is supposed to be obviously really good, but Jury's still out.
And what's his name? Oh my God,
Jay O'Brien. Yeah.
Number 19.
Jury's also still out.
And German Rubtsov.
Yeah,
man.
Jury's not out on Rubtsov.
Very weird. A miss for the Flyers back in the day drafting a center would be Scott Lawton.
Yeah,
that's like we missed because he's only a top 9 forward.
Yeah, usually the Flyers drafting centers were be developing
top 6
first,
minimum,
second line centers minimum. Yeah,
correct. Exactly. Yeah, it's your Giroux. And your Richards,
Carter.
There's more that I'm probably forgetting off the top of my head right now, but we typically did very
well. I mean,
well, that was it, but that's like top of the draft.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Hanzus was a Flyers pick or they signed him.
No, I don't think we drafted him.
Decent too. Either way, though, he was still good for the Flyers. I always liked Hanzus.
No, I gotta look it up.
But yeah, just in case, they did, then we could tutor.
No, they definitely drafted top centers outside of Jeff Carter and Richards. And
yeah. They've always been decent with drafting centers, so I just thought that's always a funny thing, right? You draft goalies like that, and then goalies like recently, like you were doing centers in the past.
Yeah, and now you can't do the centers, and
you got the goalie depth.
But yeah, killing the goalie depth.
Just to backtrack a little bit, excuse me. But just with the Dallas stuff and that game, one thing I wanted to point out was I think with the special teams, it's just momentum things that are kind of killing the Flyers. Where like Konechny scores that goal at the beginning of the period, they get a power play right after. If they score on that power play, it's a 2-2 game, right? And then Dallas comes back, makes it 3-1 instead. So like that's what we were kind of trying to point out. Where earlier in the year, those goals were coming up big for them.
Yeah.
And then I know we had a whole topic basically on special teams and kind of the special teams woes sinking them. So I have a couple stats here that kind of just dives into the special team stuff. So since their game against the Carolina Hurricanes, which was on October 28th, it's a while ago, but they've gone 3 for 28 on the power play since then, which is not very good.
Nope.
So I mean that's got to improve, right? Like we're saying, 16%, 28th in the league. When we were talking about this earlier in the season, they were about 21st. So like if they're between 21st and 15, that's where they want to be. Like let's be real, they don't probably have the high end elite offensive talent to be a top 5 power play team or anything like that, right? But
not with this.
No, but they definitely just need to be, try to be more to the middle of the league in terms of
like I like what you said. 15 to 20 range is realistic.
In terms of both
10 to 20 range is realistic.
Yeah, and even
10's great for them, I would say.
And that's phenomenal. Even in both special teams aspects. Obviously, the PK, I think they could do a bit better than the power play, but what it is, it's just setups, at least in my opinion. Like, they just need to be able to set it up quicker and move the puck quicker without hesitating. You kind of see guys thinking a little too long. Maybe it's a symptom of certain guys not really having this role before on other teams.
Yeah, I think you can say it. That's a gentle way of saying that. Yeah, guys aren't play drivers, dude. There's not enough guys who drive play.
Yeah, and that's what you need on a power play to create chances, right? And the thing is, like, you have a guy like Kevin Hayes, and he can make some nice passes, but he's never anchored a power play in this manner, like he's like they're asking him to, right?
It's also just not. It's not enough.
Yeah,
like the Flyers don't have it. Like I don't have a problem with any of the players individually. It's like, okay, great, but what happens when those guys are targeted by the defense on the other team?
That's
where's the secondary scoring on this team,
which they don't have right now,
right? And that's where a lot of people are disappointed in Frost at this point. Though I don't think that his performance has been worse than any particular player. I don't. It just goes back to the expectations.
You want to see more from him, but also I think it's kind of what would be the same with Frost. The last couple of years, like I just ultimately want to see him get more, not fair usage, but just throw him out there on a second line or something and let him play 17 minutes and just leave him alone. It's just like, I know it's bad to say that because we're preaching accountability and a standard.
I just don't. I wouldn't expect it to happen. I wouldn't expect anything.
I wouldn't expect anything like that either, unless he has a great game or something, and then you see him earn it in that way. But like Tortorella's not giving anything for free, obviously.
Here's my concern is like, I think that for us to waver as a fan base, and I feel it too. Like this is not me judging other people, but for us to, because I see people saying it maybe you should pull back on this. It's like, no, we don't do that at all. I don't think we do that at all. This team could end up being the bottom of the team in the league. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's about the fact that it's just not acceptable anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Not bring it 100% every night.
Like if we really want to get to the next level as an organization, I think we have to make that stance to be like, it's not like you can't, Frost. You can't get that alone. And an example, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like I just want to point out Cam York, who who was sent down and did not respond positively at first. But if you look at his numbers now for the Phantoms, he is definitely their number one defenseman. He has 3 goals and 6 assists and 9 points in 11 games. It's a .82 point. That is by far the best that he has done for the Phantoms. Again, lighting a fire under these guys' asses on the surface and yet giving them support. Like, I actually don't think Frost is really going anywhere right now.
No, I don't think so. He's going to get time now with Farabee and Bellows. We'll see where it kind of comes of that. But
I don't think the Flyers are as disappointed in Frost as the fan base is.
Oh, yeah, I'd agree.
Frost is a second round pick player. First of all, he's also made the NHL and has gotten a taste and shown positive things at all times in his career. Otherwise, he would have not been called up here. For example, somebody who's taken not very far after him, Isaac Ratcliffe, is playing a 4th line role on the Phantoms. He has 0 points in 10 games, right?
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody angry at Isaac Ratcliffe? Why is everybody angry at Morgan Frost? At least Frost is able to be in the NHL.
Yeah, it's just always that end of the first round. I mean, an end of the first round player is always going to be an elite guy, but he still gets that first round pick moniker. So just like you're saying, the expectations right
But
get set.
no, absolutely. But this is what an end of a first round player is.
Typically, yeah, they're not going to dominate games, right?
Okay, remember when we traded for Ryan Hartman? People
Yeah.
were like so angry that like Hartman wasn't this great player. They're like, oh my God, they could have asked for a late first round pick. I was like, but that is a late first round pick. And then he was a guy who did some things well early in his career. He was a definite NHL player. He brought all kinds of upsides. And then eventually, just like Scott Lawton, evolved into what his NHL role is, which is a top 9 forward, a guy who at this point is playing top 6 forward for them. And this is a guy who developed later after his mid-20s. It's like that's kind of a majority of these late for like look at a guy like Nick Cousins.
It takes
who's
time,
like
right?
Been in the NHL like every year, yet is like a third line player always. You know, I'm just saying like there's these guys who they really need to hit their mid-20s to really be effective NHL players. I think Frost is going to be one of those guys. I don't expect him to be a star player. I see what people are saying, but can he be an effective two-way player still? Or I'm sorry, effective offensive presence? Yes. But I still haven't seen it from him this year. In fairness, I have not seen it on a regular basis from him, but I do think opportunity matters. And I think towards like, quite frankly, this team is having trouble producing offensively. We don't have many guys who do this. You got to get the most you can out of him. Maybe this is what he thinks will do that. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe this is an opportunity where you can kind of arise to that, right? Like, I mean, he had some good games right on that fourth line with Lazinski and Delorier, but it's just, I think a guy like that, just in those limited minutes, I just don't think he's going to be that effective, to be honest. He needs to touch the puck.
Yes.
He needs to be the guy who, here, take the puck. You're going to carry it in for us. You're going to, be a catalyst, right?
Obviously, he had a couple good plays actually in the Dallas game. That wasn't his worst game.
No, yeah, he had a couple good plays. I think him and Farabee together, like I've always liked that combo. I tweeted that out the other day. That I've always thought they had chemistry. I've always thought they've looked good together and played well together. But they just have never usually converted on chances while playing together, so it's never lasted. So I'm hoping this time around maybe they start to score a little bit, and then you kind of see them stick. Then we kind of really get to see what they can do together. And then just to, finish off in terms of the special teams stuff, the penalty kill was 8th last week. We're going to week right now, so it's still early in the season, so you can't really take too much for this stuff because it's going to fluctuate, right?
Yeah.
But it was 8th last week, 18th now, 77.6%. Obviously, the PK hasn't been too good the last 4 or 5 games, but I think that's something that is definitely going to probably get back on track. I mean, Bradshaw and Tortorella are known to be really good defensive coaches, really good penalty kill coaches. I think they'll clean up kind of what's been plaguing them, which has been just too many guys that are, kind of open and loose in front, a little bit of missed coverages.
Yeah.
But I think that's things that they can clean up, and that's things where it's more X's and O's versus like the talent versus on the power play that we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Right?
They gave up backdoor goals. They were not doing that earlier in the season.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? So you're kind of seeing some bad habits creep back in, but I'm confident that with the coaches that they have, they'll be able to kind of fix that too. And obviously, you're not usually. At least this season, seeing Provorov and D'Angelo, make those misses on those plays, right? They've been pretty perfect. So there's going to be games where they're not going to be at their best in certain situations. So you can't expect perfection from guys out there. So I think we'll see bounce backs from them too, because they're major pieces of that PK. So I'm sure we'll see them kind of get better as it goes along in the next week. And then I did want to touch on too just the 5-on-5 play.
Sure.
We said, right, like 5-on-5, they've looked better to me like the last 5 games. And I think a real thing to point out is that they have outshot the teams the last 3 games despite losing. And you can say that doesn't mean anything. They're not high quality shots, blah, blah, blah. But when it's the other way around, everybody's always like, oh,
yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? So like they're out.
We're telling people that stuff doesn't matter very much. So
no. It's not even the fact that it doesn't matter, but it's just the thing that like there's always going to be certain situations where a team might get outshot but win, and vice versa. But ultimately, if your underlying process behind those shots is good, you have puck control, you're in the offensive zone. That's a good thing. That's what
But
the Flyers have been doing, I
but
would
don't
say.
you think? Don't Here's the argument I would make though: is the opportunities the Flyers gave up against these worst teams, they were, I would say, more egregious than the ones they gave up against the better teams, where they were being hemmed in their own zone. At least they kept majority of those to one and done to the
Yeah.
outside, no backdoor goal. Like, I'll take that type of non-analytic positive hockey over the stuff that we saw, which quite frankly make the head coach walk out of the freaking building because, like, yeah, you can say Hart rescued us, but he was able to see all of those shots. He
Yeah.
also gave up bad goals in the early parts of the season too. He was not infallible. He
I
got
think
stronger as the game went on, and so did the team.
I
And if you look at
think
these games, that wasn't the case.
yeah, I think it's ultimately, Yariv, you make a good point. I think it's ultimately like a best of both kind of combined almost. Whereas you want to be able to box your guys out, you want to be able to play with a defensive structure,
Absolutely.
but
Completely agree.
also still control the puck, get into those offensive situations, which they
It's
weren't doing as much, right? But
it's
it's a
the
give and
three
take.
bears. They're a
Yeah.
little hot, they're a little cold. We need right in the middle, guys. Like, you don't need to drive play as much,
Yeah.
but a little bit, will go a long way.
Yeah.
Um, you don't need to outshoot. Like, I'm not as concerned with them like carrying play. Like, I'd rather them be the frustrating team because they're not built to be a play driving team right now.
No,
We
I
do not
hear
even have
that.
a number
Yeah.
one center. I don't know how you can be a play driving team without a number one center. Like,
Yeah, it's tough.
like,
It's
how does
tough.
that even work? Like, I don't understand how that works. That your center is your play driver, and right now we have to drive play off of essentially one line.
Yeah,
If you really think about it.
that's the real truth of the matter is that I mean, other than Hayes, Konechny, Tippett right now, there's no other line that's consistently
It's
really generating much.
I
So
mean, hey, there are individuals that when they step up,
yeah,
those lines play well, but there are no there are no like there's no like settled line that's like, oh, you want to keep those guys together.
yeah. Other than the first line, if they jumbled everything up, but beyond that,
I
I
think
don't
they're
think
going
people would.
to.
Yeah, I don't think people would have an issue because you're not seeing much right out
I
of them. So it makes sense. Like
well like
if you're gonna shake it up, I would say.
they're definitely considering like separating TK, and let's just bring up TK's stat here, but they're definitely considering separating TK and Hayes just to create some more play driving other places, but they're probably hesitant. I don't blame them
Because
because they're like, well,
that's where all their goal scoring is coming from. So like, well,
yeah,
if we
so like,
separate them, then who's going to score anything?
yeah, what happens if nobody scores at that point? And maybe it's
Yeah.
smarter to go a little bit further, but let's at least point this out. And this was your statistic that you pointed out to me. Obviously, I heard this the other night, but TK is on a 6 game point streak, which what is it? I think he has 17
Six,
points in 15 games.
I think I believe that's correct. So they're 17
Yeah.
or 16, but
Six goals within there, I think 12 assists, if I remember correctly. Please double check me on that because I don't have it open.
yeah.
But look, I think we're not watching TK go through like some kind of flux. I think this is what TK is developing into. I'm going to say it, and nobody else is saying it, so I'm going to say it early. So inevitably, when it becomes obvious, we can look back and be like, okay, we acknowledged it here. He is a star player right now. He
Yeah,
is that
he's a
player
star.
that teams are planning against. It's not that we don't have one. We do. His name is Travis Konechny. It's happening in front of your face. You don't have to argue it
He
away.
just needs more help. He just needs more help.
Correct. Like we said, we don't have a number one center. We are driving play.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd be really interested to see how he can play with additional help. But he's at that age right now to hit another level. Even Tippett, you see, like Tippett is hitting that another level, but he's still not there yet in maturity level. He's still 23.
Yeah.
Give him a couple more years, like TK.
Well,
I think this is the beginning of something really special for Travis Konechny.
I'd agree. Yeah, and you were correct, Yariv. 6 goals, 11 assists. He had 17 points,
11
15
assists. Okay.
games. So
I said 12.
that's okay.
Bad math.
Close enough. Close enough.
That makes 18.
But still, he's playing really well. 19 or 59 time on ice average, so that's probably the highest in his career. So the coach is not afraid to use him.
Yeah.
Playing the PK, he's doing really everything for them. And like you're saying, he's becoming a star right in front of our eyes. I mean, we saw flash of this before in his All-Star season. We knew kind of that this player was there. But now, ultimately, I think we're seeing it come out even more, and he's just being a facet in every other game. And I got to even point out, He's getting into fights too, and
He's doing everything, dude.
yeah, he's dropping the gloves in Ottawa on Saturday, and he's absolutely giving it to Bernard Docker with an uppercut. And I'm just
He,
watching, thinking to myself, this guy's scoring, he's fighting, he's playing the penalty kill. Can't ask for much more. He just needs help, right? And unfortunately, on an NHL team, it can't just be one guy to drive the bus, right? It's not like in basketball where one star player can carry your team.
there are only what
Yeah,
10 of those guys in the
that's
NHL.
what I mean, right? So
Maybe
even if there is, so
how many? No, I would say there's 10 of them in the league, but two of them play on the same team.
yeah, that's what I mean, right?
You know?
So they're helping each other out, and you could argue if you have Marner in there and Matthews together too, that's potentially two too. So
Well, I don't think that that's so much a surprise. Like, I was thinking about with the fact that Coots is out and Atkinson's out. I don't think Atkinson's on this level. I don't think he's ever been on this level. But when we had like Giroux and Voracek out, imagine we that never happened. But imagine both of them were out for a considerable amount of time with the team the Flyers had back in the day. They would have been awful.
Yeah, bottom of the league, most likely. But it's crazy to think, right? Like, you need pairs of guys. Like, I kind of think of it like if you had Couturier healthy, you could have Couturier and Konechny. And then if you had
Tippett, Hayes.
Yeah, if you had Atkinson healthy, you could even have Hayes, Atkinson. And you throw Tippett in there, you have a really good first line, and you have a pretty good second line with Farabee in them, too.
I agree, though. I do think ideally if this team was actually healthy, which they're not, but if they were healthy, you don't even need to do that because there's an abundance there's not a lot of like top line guys, but there are enough like middle six and top six guys.
We need you to be the guy that
fill out in top
nine. Yeah, exactly.
Very nicely.
Right. Yeah, like even if you, like you were kind of alluding to earlier in the season, even if on a top line you had Cates as the guy that's like, okay, we want you to get the puck, we want you to force.
Yeah, like Cates with TK and Coots.
That would be an interesting one.
Yeah,
I'd love to see it. It's just unfortunate with the Couturier injury.
It would have been like, it probably would have been like TK with Coots and like Farabee or something.
Yeah, which honestly I wouldn't mind.
And then Hayes and Atkinson.
I wouldn't
Tippett.
I wouldn't mind to see that either. I think that would be some great stuff.
I don't even know what the lines would be, dude. And then it'd be like JVR Lawton.
Yeah.
I have no idea, dude. Oh, we should also mention that Wade Allison is officially on the IR. He had a scary looking injury against the Ottawa Senators. So far, from what I understand, I talked a little bit to Bill Meltzer about this even prior, where he was like, let's make sure it's not the most serious. And he's right. So far, we're hearing that it's not as serious as everybody fears. He is on the IR, though. That means most likely he's out for, I think LTIR is 10 games. So I don't know what IR signifies as far as is there a requirement, but it does mean he'll be, there probably is, and I don't remember.
So IR, I think
do you remember what the requirement is?
Yeah, I think it's...
You have to be out for a certain amount.
You can't play like for 12 days or something along those lines.
Okay, so it's a day count rather than a game count.
Yeah, it's like it's a day count, but you can retroactively place IR. So technically, they could say, "Oh, like we play
Dallas."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. So, we missed it. Actually, it's this game, and then we get him back early.
So yeah, well, unfortunately, Allison, he was playing really well for what the guy just does everything he's asked to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he really does.
It sucks with the injury stuff because you kind of saw him, he went through his little battle with Torch, where Torch was challenging him to be that.
And he answered.
He answered to be that north-south guy, and he answered, and it looks like
really well.
Yeah, it looks like his game was rounding out into what Tortorella was really looking for him.
Put him in the top six.
Yeah, and he was playing well, and then the injury unfortunately happens, and you got to just hope it's not long-term for him because just the injuries have plagued him so much. You wanted to see him at least get somewhat of a full season in the NHL, just so you can get to a conclusion of, okay, what is he? Can we move forward with him, in our plans and things along that nature? And I mean, if he gets a full season and plays the way he's been playing, I think he's a player you want on your team any day of the week, right? He's just a hard worker. So
100%. And let's hope he's back soon. And in that same vein, I guess Max Willman gets the recall to supplement for that injury, but at the same time, we send down Tanner Lazinski, and I always see Lazinski and Allison kind of paired together because of their injury history and their age, and they were the college free agent guys. It's interesting that Laz got sent down. It sucks, man. He was playing so well to start of the season, But I think they probably want him to get more ice time, and it's just kind of like he's been a little bit invisible lately, and he's better than
Yeah,
this. So
yeah.
maybe their thought is to, like, just to get
It's
him
a
playing.
challenge. It's a challenge, maybe. I think they know that he
He's
can
also waiver
bring.
exempt. We have
Yeah,
to make it
yeah, he can
clear.
bring a little. Yeah, I think he can bring a little bit more, obviously, because we saw it in the beginning of the season. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And the second thing, probably too, is they still view him maybe as a guy that can get better and do more for them. So why not get him to play like top line minutes or
Yeah.
play more in the AHL versus getting like 5-6 minutes a night, which is what he's been getting. They maybe rather give it to a Max Willman, but also chance for Max Willman. And I mean, he had some pretty good plays in some chances last season. There was certain stuff that I really like from him. Like he forechecks really hard. He works hard. He's a hardworking guy. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how he works in on the fourth line. Um, are we okay to get into some Tortorella quotes here? Because I got some interesting stuff from Torts I thought
Yeah. Go for it.
was pretty funny in terms of his well, not funny, but just
I mean, funny.
over yeah,
It
funny,
makes me laugh.
but just overall interesting tidbits from Tortorella. So first off, I mean, this is back to the kind of the 5-on-5 stuff that we were saying, and I mean, even he sees it that in the Columbus game, they only gave up 9 scoring chances, or 13 in Columbus. I mean, 9 against Ottawa, and then 15 against Dallas, versus giving up like 27, 28 scoring chances at the beginning of the year. So in
Mm.
terms of that, I mean, that's an interesting stat for me, just because if they continue to limit those scoring chances, that should bode well in the future. So hopefully that's something, I mean, that happens for them. And I mean, Tortorella even mentioned as well that he thinks, things are fixable with the power play, but it's just getting set up and scoring goals in momentum, you know, breaking areas, pretty much, right? Where you have a goal that changes the outcome of a game, whether it actually ties it for you or puts you in the lead, and that's kind of something else that he touched on. But another interesting thing was, I mean, over the last few games, a question was asked him talking a little bit about being all over the ice just to play the offensive zone, puck possession. Do you feel like the team's been able to capitalize on it? And Tortorella said, the team hasn't been able to finish, but you can see how much confidence the team is building in terms of puck possession. He said we need to put some people in front of them, score a couple deflection goals. That's the difference going into the third period. He thought that they had good chances, but they just need to get more traffic to the front of the net. So I think that could be a factor too, right? Where you're missing certain aggressiveness towards the front of the net, or certain tip plays, things like that might get you a greasy goal and get you back into it, which we kind of haven't really seen a lot. So I
Yeah.
thought that would be interesting to mention too.
I feel like offensively we've been a little bit behind the play. Like guys are driving to the net, but they're like just a hair short or late, and they're not there to win that battle and get that 1-2, extra kind of shots on net from in tight. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't think Torts has given us too much lately as
Yeah.
far as what's going on. You can tell he's extremely frustrated with those losses. But at the same time, he's just not interested in throwing anybody under the bus. And I think that's a smart move right now. They got
the team's working hard. I think Jordan
well, it's
Hall,
undeniable.
yeah, I think Jordan Hall asked him to kind of end off, like, what do you think about the team setting a new standard, and are you seeing that? And he said, if people are going to talk shit on us, or if they're going to demean our play, I just don't agree with that. I think everybody's giving effort, everybody's trying, everybody's putting their all, which I think that's a valid thing. And I think that's the thing we got to realize, right, as kind of setting our evaluation or expectations, that obviously there's certain limitations of this team right now. They're lacking a certain amount of talent, but you can tell the try is there, the effort is there.
Well,
So I think
I'll
that's a
say
positive, right?
here, yeah, absolutely. But I think this is kind of his point, and I'll categorize this because this is how I see things, and I don't want to speak for other people, but like, okay, there is your talent level, your effort, and then there's your process. Okay, the effort for the Flyers last year was not good. The process was abysmal. The talent was there to some degree, right? We had the names.
Yeah.
This year, okay, the effort level is there without a doubt. And that is what you knew that was coming in. The way Torch was talking about, it's there. The process, and that is limiting your mistakes, making a slightly different decision at a slightly different time, making the right decision instead of the wrong decision. These are not talent related things. They're usually practice based, Like, how often are you practicing what you're talking about? Follow through and, people believing in it, and just like, the effort, the process of getting better. So like studying game footage, studying yourself, being honest with yourself as an athlete, like all of these things, like that process part, that is the hardest part of all of this, in my opinion. And that's the part that's going to take time. So that's the fluctuation where you're like, oh man, you guys had it, you played well, but you made here, and here, you made those crucial mistakes that led to this loss. But your process it's getting better, right? And that's why a lot of us don't know what's wrong. And then there's your talent level, and the talent level, to some degree, is there healthy, but not healthy. It's definitely suffers, right? Because we're not a team that can win on talent. Right? Yeah, we're not a team that can win on talent alone. We don't have that trifecta where talent can make up for all of our mistakes. In some areas we do, like we have Carter Hart, right? We have certain elements which are high talent, like very high talent, but not enough in our team to rely on it. So it's the effort is there. The coach is never going to bash anybody for effort. Nobody ever bashes anybody for trying their hardest. It's never going to happen. The process,
what they're doing,
right? But this is something we have to really separate here as a fan base. There's a difference between your process and your talent. And a lot of people are conflating the two together. They're going, oh, the process isn't good, so the talent isn't there. No, there's just maybe not enough talent to win a championship, not enough talent to win off of talent alone. But the process, when it's there, the talent shows up. So that's my opinion, is fix the process and you'll get the most out of the talent, because the effort's already there. If you don't have effort or process, you're not getting anywhere, even if you have talent, right?
Yeah, and that's 100% correct, right? Like, I mean, effort and process are a main key to kind of, building a sustaining winning formula. And you need to make sure that, those habits in your games are there.
Well, let me use another example. Fitness, okay? I work out every day, pretty much 6-7 days a week. I've been doing this for 13 years, right? In the beginning, I would even work out longer, but because I didn't really know what I was doing with my diet, with how to use rest and recovery, just my form wasn't as good. What exercises I chose to do, I didn't get as much out of my workouts. Like, even though I was working hard and I would run before I worked out, like I don't even warm up before I work out anymore. Like, I don't do any of the stuff that I used to do. I used to do protein drinks and all that stuff. I don't do any of that stuff at all anymore. It left my process a long time ago. My process today is very different, and my talent level is the same, but my process and my level of effort is the same, but my process got better. So my results are a lot better. And that's what I'm trying to say with the Flyers is, first, the effort has to be there to put the practice of getting better at the process, right? Yeah. Now is the process part. And this is the part that fluctuates up and down. And this is why I don't care that much about analytics, because you're just reading me back the process. I'm like, okay, fine.
Pretty much. And I think it's interesting too, because you're seeing downs in terms of results on the ice and their performances. But in terms of the process and the way they're actually playing, if you watch, they probably deserve to win some of these games. So like you're saying, right, it's putting the building blocks together, coupled with the effort. And then hopefully now that you see, certain things shaping up, you see, more sustained wins in the future. I think, for the team, it's interesting just with what we're saying in terms of like the process, effort, and everything Tortorella's kind of bringing up. And the interesting part is, essentially, if they continue this way and play the way that they're playing, they're going to win more often than not. So you could be mad with,
and they have.
Yeah, exactly. And you can be mad with the three-game losing streak and things like that. And obviously the special teams, if those don't get fixed,
I am mad.
And the special teams, if those don't get fixed, the 5-on-5 play is not going to matter, because if you're getting killed on special teams every night in this league, it's going to get you. And we've brought that up numerous times, right? So those are the main things. That's a part of the process as well. How do you fit the special teams into being effective while also maintaining decent 5-on-5 play? And that's something Tortorella's going to have to figure out. I just wrote an article on that whole thing, so check it out, everybody, on FlyersNittyGritty.com.
Nice.
Shameless plug for you guys.
No, perfect. We'll plug it again at the end. So I think that's what we're watching, a lot of that here. And I guess the last player we'll talk about, and then we'll do young player updates, and then we'll close on the comments. But just want to talk about Provorov, and this was your stat again that you pulled out. Provorov is third in the NHL with 44 blocks. I think that number obviously is so high because of the possession numbers haven't been great. Flyers have been giving up a lot of shots in general.
Guy's a warrior though.
Yeah,
44 blocks already in
yeah.
fucking what, 17 games? Like,
yeah. I really want to see this team play better because I think Provorov needs. I think the league needs to understand what's going on with Provorov and D'Angelo. So as a team, we got to play a little bit better overall and get
they
more
look like
out
a
of this group.
they look like a great first pair so far, man. Like through 17 games, yeah, they look
I mean, they're
really
playing
good, I would say.
25 minutes a night each,
Yeah.
each one of them. So,
Yeah.
and it's like different nights. Each one of them is leading in ice time, and it makes sense because it really just depends on how much power play time there is in that game. If there's a lot of power play time, D'Angelo plays a lot. If there isn't as much, then it's, you know what I mean, plays a little bit less, but Provorov plays both. So it's like, it always seems to balance out with the two of them playing the most. All right, let's get into our final, I guess, player section of this before we get into the categories. So I just have elite prospects up here, and I figure we go through some of the names just to remind people of the young talent. We don't go through it that often. Do check out the prospect update by the Flyers. Shout out to Bill Meltzer. He did provide a pretty good update there. I do recommend. We're going to go through more players than just what they did, but we're going to go into more briefly. But definitely make sure to check out that one out with Brian Smith. Really good update on some of the younger guys.
They kill it. They kill it for sure.
Yeah, obviously Bill's amazing. So number one that I want to go through, which probably most people don't expect I would bring him up first, but Alexis Gendron, who's a later pick from the Philadelphia Flyers. I do want to point out that in the Q, the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, he has 14 goals and 9 assists for 23 points in 18 games. Now, that is very impressive, and if you look at the league, it's a very high-scoring league. He is one of the top point producers along with his line right now. It is not a signifier that this guy is going to be a star prospect or anything, but he does have an elite shot. His father was an NHL player.
Encouraging.
He definitely did very well at camp, at least offensively. His defense is the large issue with his game, but I wanted to give him some recognition because 14 goals in 18 games is no joke.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like you're saying, right, when your father has had the NHL experience, maybe, he can impart some words of wisdom, help with that defensive game. I'm sure, they probably talk all the time about stuff like that. So.
And so another guy I want to talk about who just came back from the Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and I think watch out, the Phantoms might actually be good this year, and they're actually about to get healthy. Cooper Marudi just came back, former Philadelphia Flyer pick, obviously has been around, still relatively young at 25, but I just want to point out that he is probably going to be a big deal for the Phantoms this year. He's one of the better AHL players, and he's in his mid-20s. So this is not a guy out of the realm of maybe even getting a call-up, but he has 1 goal and 2 assists in his first 3 games with the Phantoms this year. I wanted to give a call out to that. Also +3. And I suspect he could get a call up similar to something like Max Willman, who got a call up. Just guys who can, play a professional game and maybe contribute some points in the bottom 6. So wanted to call out Marudi there on that one. All right, next one. Let's talk about an exciting one. We'll jump to that one, and I'll just bring up Cam York again. Brought it up earlier. 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points in 11 games. From what I understand, pretty much every night on the score sheet, he is there. He's playing top pairing. And, we see what's going on with Risto. We see what's going on with some of these defensive positions as things kind of open up as the season goes on. Obviously, Zamula, not as much part of this group. We got some young defensemen in there so far, but seems like, Cam York is kind of doing what was asked of him. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger. I think they're probably getting antsy, but maybe another 10 games or so, if he continues what he's doing, can't see him staying in the AHL with those type of production.
Yeah, he's putting up almost point a game production for a defenseman in the AHL.
And again, he's 21.
Yeah, 21 years old, so he's a young guy.
It's very good.
I think he's doing it. It's not like he's just the power play guy or the power play specialist or anything like that. Like, he's doing it all. He's getting top pair minutes. He's playing like over 22, 23 minutes a night. I'm pretty sure, something along those lines. And And then also, I mean, when you're on the first pair like that, you're getting all the top defensive matchups. So you can't, take that away from him either. He's doing it in his own end, and the fans have been winning some games. So he's been a big part of it all over the ice. That's what the Flyers wanted to see, right? They wanted to see more assertiveness in his game. They wanted to see him take control of it more. And just by, looking at what he's done with the Phantom so far, we're kind of seeing that happen down there. And like you were saying, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him up soon, just based on the way the defense has been shaping out, where you're not really sure what your third pair is right now, and maybe he can
Yeah.
bring some stabilization there.
Yeah.
There's just been a lot of rotating, so I think we could see York for sure.
I think for sure he ends the season with the Flyers.
Yeah, I agree. I put it like 90%.
yeah, for sure. Next, Ole Lishkel. I think I said his name wrong. Ole. Anyway, he's got 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 8 games for the Phantoms. He, again, reminder, he is a newcomer here. He is getting off on a great start, and another guy who already had a call up. He's another guy I could see being a call up. I think he'll be here for a couple of years. And hopefully he gets better. This is his first time in the AHL. This is a guy who I do think the Flyers see as a potential NHL
I could see it. Yeah.
call up at this point, and maybe an NHL player next year.
And you got to factor in what's impressive too is he's still adjusting. I mean, from the European ice surface to the North American ice, and doing pretty well at that. Right, it's his first year over here, so it's definitely interesting to see where he goes as kind of even gets more settled in. I would say he seems like one of those players that he's like a sneaky good. You know what I mean? Like you don't notice him all the time, but he's always in the right position. Smart player. Really speedy. So I think we could, see him grow, and hopefully, I mean, even potentially get another call up this season, because obviously, as we've seen, the bottom 6 isn't very cemented for the Flyers. A lot of shuffling. So I could see it for sure. Like if you see a guy like, let's say, hypothetically, a Kiefer Bellows isn't showing Tortorella a lot, you never know. They might give a Lickshell a shot or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Flyers will be looking to put Bellows through waivers, but there's no reason that it doesn't mean it won't happen. Next one on the list here I have is Tyson Forrester. In 11 games right now, he's got 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points for a .64 points per game. Pretty good for the young player. I think that they're getting better every day from what I understand about the Phantoms, what I've seen. So I think those are a little bit pedestrian in the scoring numbers. But again, he's really young, and 7 points in 11 games for a young player is fantastic. It's just, having those 19 goals in the first, rookie year, and just the type of player he is. Again, I think it's gonna be a little more of a process, and a guy I expect to kind of take over the Phantoms as the leading point scorer by the end of the year.
And I think we could see him up with the Flyers too, potentially. There's always a possibility, right? He's got a great shot.
I mean,
So
I was
you
thinking
might
it the
wanna
other
see him.
night, dude.
I
I was
see him in
thinking
a
it the
couple
other night. I was
games,
like,
yeah.
well, I don't think he's ready, but we don't have a lot of players with X factors offensively
Which
in our lineup right now.
definitely has with the shot. So.
He is, exactly. He's one of the only guys at the moment, especially with Allison now being injured. He has a shot. Now he's out too. And then the last one will go for the Phantoms here. We'll go for Elliot Denoyer, who's got 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points, and in 11 games, which, again, for the type of player that Denoyer is, that's very good.
And some of them are game winners, I believe. So clutch times as well.
Yeah, he is a guy that hopefully makes the Flyers by the end of the year, but I think the Flyers will want him to be like, hopefully make the playoffs and be that guy by the end of the year. I think he's a guy they can like run their 2-way game around, where he can be like a Scott Lawton type, but better for the Phantoms, like a guy who's like kind of their power forward. You look at a guy like Hayden Hodgson. Power forward is the wrong term for him, but more like a play driver on a 2-way basis. Because you look at Hayden Hodgson right now, I think he has like 1 goal in 10 games or 9 games or something. It's like I think it's like a changing of the guard right now. And I think he is going to be like one of the leaders of this team by the end of the season.
I could definitely see that. And I mean, Denoyer, even in junior, showed that he has a lot of skills. He's not just a guy that you're, hoping to be a checker, right? Like there's some dynamism to his game.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we'll see him with the Flyers unless he really beats the door down. But like you're saying, like if the Phantoms make the playoffs, things like that, I can't see them not putting him in positions where he's going to be heavily relied upon defensive zone, offensive zone, really all
Yeah.
situations. I think they're trying to develop him into that type of player. Not exactly like a Scott Lawton, but similar type of mold where he can kind of almost do everything, but maybe even a little bit more offense where you see a bit more, scoring out of him, let's say.
Yeah. And I guess I do want to give a shout out here to Ronnie Attard as well, because he obviously came close to making the team and will probably get a call up. He's got 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points in 11 games, also making an impact offensively. Not that surprising that he's got 3 goals, 3 assists. I feel like that's his game in a nutshell. He's just like a forward almost.
Yeah, and I mean, apparently he's had a couple really, really nice shots for goals that have just been rippers. So that's not surprising either, just based off the way we've seen him play. He had a couple at the end of last season where he puts them in from the blue line, and it's just the velocity from how far he is. You're just like, wow, this kid can shoot the puck.
Yeah. And I guess just a couple stinkers for right now before I get to the younger guys. Isaac Ratcliffe, again, I said it earlier. He only has 16 penalty minutes on the year. He's got no points in 10 games, which is
That's crazy.
Very surprising to me. But again, I haven't watched them closely this year, and it's been a little concerning that he's been on the 4th line all year round. But something there's got to give. Zayd Wisdom actually has 4 assists. Important to point out there too. He'll probably work his way up that lineup slowly, but I don't think that's necessarily bad. And then Samu Tuamala, just still not finding a name for himself. I would just forget about him for a little bit, and hopefully we have some good news about him. And I guess the last one here, and we'll stop on Andre, and then we'll get into the 3 NCAA guys, and we'll end on that. Emil Andre. Right now, he's got 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points in 15 games. Again, shout out to Bill Melch on this. I've not had a chance to watch Andre this year, but from what Bill was explaining, Andre's points have started to come more now rather than later. But if you've seen Andre play, I mean, definitely go to Bill's breakdown. But this is a guy who I do expect to be a huge part of the Phantoms, probably playing Cam York's role on the Phantoms next year.
I could definitely see that, right? Because you have the adjustment period coming over from Europe too, so they want to give him time. But also too, you got to factor in, even though there's not as many points, and the process looks good from kind of what Bill was saying in his breakdown that we're building off of a little bit is his team went up a level, right? So they're in the main level now of the Swedish league. So he's playing the best competition in Sweden.
He's their best player.
Yeah, exactly, right. So like he's being relied upon playing in the top division in Sweden, so that's really impressive for his age, and it just shows that he's developing in the way the Flyers are looking for right now.
And he's also an undersized guy that it's going to require him to fill out max to be like a man. So this is a guy I would not expect to be ready till he's like 24 years old.
He's going to take some time.
Yeah. So like anybody who like is like, oh, he's good, and if he struggles at all, you'd be like, oh, it's not there. This is not a situation where you want to be like, oh yeah, he'll be ready early. I highly doubt it. Same thing with Isaac Ratcliffe.
He's 5'8", right? Andre?
Yeah, 5'8", 5'9".
Okay.
But
which makes sense though, right? Like you're a smaller guy, you want to fill in your frame, especially playing defense in the NHL.
You have to. Yeah, you have to fill in your frame too. Like I don't remember what year Samuel Girard made it, but again, similar type of player. Majority of the time, like unless you're a forward,
it took Girard some time, man.
Exactly.
To stick in Colorado.
That's what I'm saying. It takes a long time when you're undersized. You gotta, and it doesn't happen for all players too. Some players just never figure it out fully. But it takes time. And then let's get into the next 2. We'll end on Gauthier, but let's start with Devin Kaplan. I do want to give him a shout out just because he's one of the bigger picks that the Flyers have, and he's a power forward like player playing for Boston University. He's got 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points, a +3 in that time. That's pretty good for a college right winger. As a
freshman year as well.
Yeah. So very not too bad at all. And then the next one, this one's a big one. This is a guy who, I got to see him play a little bit in the camp here, Alex Bump. He plays in the U.S. Hockey League right now. He's got 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points in 15 games. He is on a bad team from what I understand, but he is by far their best player right now offensively, from what I believe. And just a guy who could be a boom or bust type of point producer.
Yeah, he definitely has the boom or bust to his game. And just going back from when we got out to the draft, I remember Brent Flair mentioning they were surprised that he fell to them at the spot that they did, and they thought that he had like some offensive aspects of his
Yes.
game that he could really build around, mainly his shot. So we'll see. I mean, if that continues, but on a bad team, I mean, being the best player so far, so good, 12 points in 15 games. That's really great for him.
I would say man, he has the skill set of a second round player.
Yeah.
So I think the Flyers were like, they probably were like, well, maybe he'll be available as a third round guy.
Even Steve, when we had him on, was touting Bump that he really loved this shot. So
exactly, and the fact he's having a really strong start so far is just, it bodes really well for him. But they have the luxury with that league, the U.S. Hockey League. I think they can retain him for several years, so they could just leave him, just be like, do your thing, dude. And hopefully, when you're 24 or whatever, we bring you in, or I don't know, 24, but like 22, then we'll bring you the Phantoms. Because I love that stuff. Like, I want 22-year-old, 21-year-old showing up, not 19-year-olds. And then the last one, the man of the hour, this one we got to point out. Look, it's no Fantilli, who is on a generational start. But so far for Boston College, Cutter Gauthier, playing both center and left wing, is being rotated in that position. In 7 games, has 5 goals and 3 assists as a freshman in college.
Game.
For everybody who's saying to you the Flyers have no star prospect, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Again, Fantilli's on generational.
That's the thing, but over point a game
stuff
as a freshman in college is very impressive.
He's on a NHL All-Star pace. Let's just say that.
Yeah. He has all the makings, of getting to that level, and it's showing obviously the way he's performing to start off his freshman year.
And they're like dominant goals. If you guys have seen,
I was about to point out, like, he's had a couple beauty goals where he's coming in just roofing backhands and just showing off a ton of skill. So the thing is that is interesting to me with Gauthier, and what was interesting even back at the draft, just that size skill combo. You don't see it very often anymore in the NHL, where you have such a big guy that can score as well. That can really be like a factor for your team. So I mean, if he turns out and can put that all together at the NHL level for the Flyers, boy, that's going to be something they've been looking for a long time, right? And you just, we've alluded to it the whole episode pretty much, and hints of it here and there. You just need a center. And like,
I know it's huge.
If he can be, a top 2 center for them consistently going forward, obviously it's a lot of pressure to place on a young guy, but that's what the Flyers really need desperately, right?
We have to find a top center. It's a top priority. And I guess let's end with these guys. So I didn't talk about any goalies, but Samuel Ersson as well has played very well. He's got a 2.63 goals against and a .916 save percentage playing for the Phantoms. Grosnick is injured, so Ersson has had to play more. I think he almost had a shutout the other day. Maybe he did have a shutout, but he is playing very well. He was playing well in preseason. He was back up. I think he's on pair with Sandstrom already right now, and he's 4 years younger. So this guy, in my opinion, is a legitimate NHL prospect. One that, you talk about trade value. I'm not saying we should trade any of these guys. In fact, I don't think we should, because we are not in a position to move anybody talented right now. But you talk about the guys that the Flyers have in that goaltending pipeline.
You can use that as leverage in trades.
Yeah. And then I guess let's go to the next one. And Alexei Kolosov in the KHL. In 21 games, he got a 2.49 goals against average and a .915 save percentage. Again, for those of you who are not aware, this guy has been a starter in the KHL. Okay, for those who don't follow the KHL, if you see a guy who is 18, 19 and is a regular in that league, it's unheard of. Like, they don't train players like the NHL. They don't give you time. If you're young, you play 5 minutes a night as a forward. You're getting like no ice time.
But it's also like, imagine it's very similar to the NHL, where when are you seeing an 18 or 19 NHL year old or NHL goalie like make it into the league? You know what I mean? It's very rarely happening.
A legitimate, right? And that league is even worse than the NHL because they don't even do that. Like, they're not interested in developing young guys. They don't care. I mean, they are, but not like, they don't have like an AHL where they move guys. They don't care. They're like, they have their lower league, but they'll just not. You can see it. There have been great young talents in the NHL. Don't even get ice time in the KHL.
It's a winning league for them, right? They're not the thing is with them too is they realize that like a lot of their prospects get poached. So
yes, exactly.
That's why
they're not
for young guys too. They're not always conducive to like, well, let's bring this guy along so we can just leave us in a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
So.
no, absolutely. And speaking of a guy who left us, and I do want to just point it out real quick here, which I always love to follow him because he had one of the best preseasons I've ever seen, and then to have zero impact as an NHL player is just baffling. But Mikhail Vorobiev in 30 games in the KHL this year, he's got 23 points, 7 goals, 16 assists. He's been killing it in the KHL. He's plus 12. But for whatever reason, I still don't know what happened. He was a great prospect. Dominant preseason, completely disappeared when the season started.
And he avoided jail, so that's the main thing, I think, for him.
Why did he avoid jail?
So I think it was draft dodging.
Right.
He avoided it,
Yeah.
He went to court and everything, but that's awesome for him that, like, he avoids jail and killing it in the KHL. Double whammy for Vorobiev.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into our last thing. And we don't have many. We only have, I was thinking about some Vasili, and I hope this didn't backfire. I hope you guys aren't not commenting now because I am putting you guys up front. I hope it doesn't feel like I'm calling people out. If it does, maybe we'll move to something else because we've had a little less comments of late. So, but I also think it could be related to just whatever, could just be coincidence. But let's go to our previous episode comments. Again, Eric, the man, he's got both of them here.
Keeping us alive in the comments.
Yep. Oh, why did this do this? Work, please. I command you. There we go. Okay. All right. So again, to Eric Wisniewski, the first one here, we'll give you a little gritty like and a heart. I started out playing every position once in roller hockey, then switched to full goalie and never looked back. It's special to do goal. Yeah, and I think he's referring to the comment that I made last episode. Yeah. Where I'm saying you got to be a special kind of person to
got to be crazy to be a goalie.
I mean, that's your insight, Vasili. I've never been a goalie.
I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of crazy to want to step in front of a hard rubber puck that's getting shot at you at very high speeds for like 60 minutes a game. So
yeah,
I'll just say that. To be honest, man, I just thought, for me, like growing up, I just always thought it was so cool, like the goalie pads and the gear.
Sure.
That's what drew me to it as a kid. And then once you get into the position, it's totally different. It's not really about the gear anymore.
Yeah, it can be a glorious position.
Yeah, for sure.
And the last comment here by Eric as well. Still believe that Hart will be the first 40-game winner since Pelle Lindbergh. 1, I did not even realize that was the case. 2, talent-wise, I think he is we've said this on here. I've definitely said it. I think he's the most talented goaltender that I have seen. Definitely in my lifetime.
He's the most talented I've seen. He's definitely probably the most talented since Lindbergh, to be honest, in terms of just like raw talent. Like he's going to be an elite type goalie, a pedigree from like coming into the league because just based on my reading on Lindbergh, I'm pretty sure like he came into the league with that type of pedigree as well. So.
Yeah. Again, the Flyers have been screwed in the past. Be happy that Hart is good. He's very good.
He's really good. If you're giving out MVPs so far, it's probably coming to him, Provorov, Konechny. And those are 3 guys that in the last couple of years, people have really, shit on. So it just shows like young guys, like we always say on the show, it's not always a linear thing, right? There's valleys and then there's peaks to the valleys. So.
There's I would say almost always peaks and valleys. If you think that there isn't, you're the one who's mistaken. Like if you think that this is the thing, this is not the thing.
Unless you're Connor McDavid, maybe. And that's
even McDavid. Even McDavid, talent wise, yes. Yeah. Production wise, yes. But season 1, what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
Serious injury against the Flyers. Had a freak problem.
Had to learn to be more of a pro, right? Had to prepare probably more.
Didn't win the Calder, which he probably would have, right? Like, nobody denies that the guy is the best player. Panarin is phenomenal. Ghost had a ridiculous rookie year, but at the same time, they're not McDavid. McDavid is a freak. So again, that's what I said. Everything's got ups and downs. Even the best player of all time goes through them. So
pretty much,
you just don't think about it retrospectively because the great ones, they keep them to a minimum, and they
respond.
That's why they're so great, right?
Yes.
They just they limit that stuff.
Exactly. You know, like even actually, let's just use before we end here, let's just use Travis Konechny's example from getting benched to the response afterwards. Like nothing that has happened to this guy has stopped him from being probably, you know, I understand why people keep saying TK for captain. While Lawton, I agree. I think TK is a little younger, and that's probably why. But I would say so far it seems like if you talk about like the drive behind the team, it seems like TK.
He's driving the team. He's the driving force. Personally, I mean, if we're giving like a captain prediction, I mean, it's definitely Lawton or Konechny.
Sure.
In terms of like early season candidates, but I don't think he's going to name one anymore.
I don't think so either. I do think a big thing he was waiting for, honestly, was Atkinson, who we know he loves.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means he would give it to him immediately, but I think he wants him in that conversation. And then obviously,
I think he'd get an A.
If Tortorella wants to tell me that he doesn't know who Sean Couturier is, didn't do research on this guy, and doesn't know his personality, I'm going to say you're lying. Like you might say to me publicly, no, you're lying. You're lying because every coach knows who Sean Couturier is because you got to play against him. Yeah, exactly. You have to prepare against this guy because he's not an average player. He will shut down your best players, even though you don't do it. You know, you were definitely given a story when you came here to do your research. His name must have come up in every avenue because what was the stat last year, Vasili? Was it a whole point a game or a whole goal a game less we give up with him in the game?
Yeah, that was it. And then also just with him in the lineup, there were 500. And then after that, we saw what happened. So
yeah. So you're telling me the coach wouldn't be like, oh, Sean Couturier, like.
No, I think that's just. I mean, Tortorella's a smart guy. He plays the media. That's just posturing.
Yeah.
And the message he's trying to employ to the team and the media.
In my opinion, it's working. I think the players like it. I think the players like that there's no captain.
I agree. I think honestly, I think they're embracing the challenge that Tortorella is bringing
because
on a daily but
think about basis. It. Like this team was such a mess. Yeah. To like walk in and be like, oh, these guys were doing it right and you guys weren't doing it right. He kind of just removed all that. He's kind of just like, hey, like we're all in this together. We're all starting from square one together.
Let's try to do it right together.
Together, like we didn't have a culture here. Not one that we should. Again, this is not a knock on the guy. I really like all these guys, but we didn't. I know the difference. We all know the difference. They didn't believe in themselves as a room overall to get themselves out of what's going on. I think this year they do. Yeah. You know, even if they don't end up a great team in the end, I think that they'll battle till the very end of the season.
Yeah. And case in point, like look into the Columbus game coming up. After this 3-game losing streak,
I expect them to win that game.
Yeah, I expect to win. Or if they don't, they're going to be playing one of their best games of the season, probably. So
I find it so hard that they would not win that game.
Yeah, I agree.
But you never know. All right, Vasili, let's end it on there. What do you got for people? Give them their shout. I think you were mentioning your article earlier. You want to do it another mention?
Yeah, sure. We'll do another shameless plug here. So everybody head to flyersnittygritty.com. Thanks for the support. I got a new article up just before we recorded this, just kind of going into trends, emerging in the first 15 games of the season. So check it out, and thanks for the support, and thanks for continuing to read my articles, all the writers' articles, because everybody does a great job. So,
word, appreciate you, dude. And again, thank you to Jim Steaks. They're not open yet, but again, we'll let you know when they're open. And thank you to everybody again who came. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for setting all that up, and to your family, and to everybody else who helped and that I saw. And got to finally meet in person. And those who I didn't realize that I even recognized you and that I didn't talk to you, sorry, I tried, but we're going to do another one and we're going to get to know everybody even better. It was amazing. So thank you all for joining. It's an honor, honestly, that people came out and supported us. So it's really awesome. And again, thank you everybody for listening. Please like, subscribe, share, do the whole thing. We're going to keep doing these. We're not going to stop doing these no matter how the Flyers do. We do have some more guests and stuff we're working on. But I don't know. Vasili and I enjoy doing these just together every now and then too, which I feel like other people also like it. So
yeah. Fun stuff always.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you for listening. Yeah, keep enjoying the season. It's been a much more enjoyable season to cover so far than the previous one. Right off the bat. And you guys are making it awesome. So remember to keep watching, and remember, always stay gritty.